Okay, we're going to do a quick recap of our various data displays, also called graphs. So the first one I'm going to talk about is a box plot. So your box plot is here. Remember, your box plot kind of floats above a number line, and your box plot is made of 5 numbers. Your numbers are your minimum or smallest number, your maximum or biggest number, your median, which is your middle number, and then you have your lower quartile, also known as Q1, and your upper quartile, also known as Q3. And then remember, in each of these gaps, you have a 25% of your data. And you notice 4 makes 100. Okay, so IQR Interquartile Range is your range of the box. So you would take your Q3 and subtract your Q1. Okay, so that's kind of your quick recap of box plots. You cannot determine your full data set from a box plot. All right, then the next one we're going to talk about is dot plots. So this is a dot plot. So it's always above a number line, and the dots sometimes are X's, so you might see the dot as an X. But either way, it's the same. The first thing you want to do on a dot plot is you want to write out your numbers. So you can see what comes between 0 and 2. There's a 1, so I wrote a 1. And then you have 2 dots above your 6, so you have 6, 6. And then 2 dots above 7, 7, 7, and so on and so forth. Okay, so the first thing you want to do anytime you see a dot plot is write those numbers out. Okay, and then from there you can find minimum, maximum, you can find your median. You could take your data and create a box plot. You can see your mode, which is your most common number, is going to be 9 because it's the tallest column, sometimes also called your peak. Okay, mode or peak. Okay, remember that you look at the dots, not the numbers on the number line, because if I was looking at the numbers on the number line, the maximum would be 10, but there's no dot above 10, so the maximum is actually the 9. Okay, all right, so that's your quick recap of dot plots. Remember, there's 3 different ways they could be skewed. If they're symmetrical, they're perfectly even. Okay, there's no skew. If they are skewed left, that means the tail of it is longer on the left. And if they're skewed right, the tail of it is longer on the right. Okay, so those are our different skews. And then in the middle, we have bar and histogram. So this is a bar graph, this is a histogram. The really only difference between a bar graph and a histogram is that on a bar graph, there's a gap between each bar, and on a histogram, it's a section, so 100 to 200, 200 to 300, 300 to 400. So histogram bars touch because they are connecting 1 to 2, 2 to 3, and these are not. But no matter what, anytime you have a bar graph, you should label your bars. So you could see like this is 8, 3, 2, 5, and 4. And then after you label your bars, you would add them up and find your total. So 8 and 3 is 11, 11 and 2 is 13, 13 and 5 is 18, and 18 and 4 is 22. And then I can use that total for questions that they ask me, especially if I need to set up a proportion. I know my total will go on the bottom. Okay, so that's the things that are important on a bar graph. Histogram, same thing. Anytime you see a histogram, you're going to label your bars, and then you would find your total. I'm not going to do that because you can obviously do that on your own. So that's your quick recap of bar and histograms. And then the last one we're going to talk about is a stem and leaf plot. So remember, stem and leaf plots sometimes are divided like this. So your stem is like your your tens place, and then your leaf is like your ones place. So this, just like dot plots, when you have a stem and leaf, you want to write your numbers out as a list, a data set. So 15 would be divided 1, and then there's my 5, so 15. And then 1 and 6, there's 16, so on and so forth. Okay, so that's a stem and leaf plot. And again, once you get a stem and leaf plot, you want to write your numbers out. From there, you can find your minimum, your maximum, your median. You could create a box plot if you needed to. You can find mode, okay, the number that repeats the most, all those things. Okay, so that's your quick recap of graphs. The last graph is also circles. Remember, circle graphs have 100% total in them. All right, and that's all there is, guys. So go try out your graphs practice.